and welcome to Saints Live. I'm Steve Forbes.
I'm Kenzie Benali.
And we're through the international break woods and Saints return to Premier League action with a trip to Wolves where 3 points would see them jump up to third in the Premier League table.
Yes, and we have a jam-packed show as always for you. We'll be hearing from you, the fans, in just a few moments' time. But before we do, let's introduce our two guests. They are our resident guests, Dean Hammond and Adam Leach. Welcome, gents. It's been a couple of weeks. How you been doing?
Very well, thank you. Very well.
Yep, likewise. Yep, it's been that weird time, hasn't it, to have another international break. They seem to come all the time, but the games start coming thick and fast now. So I think we'll find a bit of rhythm. Hopefully, Saints will continue theirs as well.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we might as well just dive straight into it then. Team news is less than 15 minutes away. Just some bits before we find out who's in the squad today. Ryan Bertrand is back from injury. Also, James Ward-Prowse is available after missing England duty. Will Smallbone is also in contention. And Danny Ings, unfortunately, he is still out. So with all that information, let's come to both you guys first. Dean, we'll start with yourself. What do you make of Ralph's options today and what do you expect him to do?
Well, for one, he's got very, very good options. The team's in good form. They're playing very well. Newcastle, last time out, the team was changed a little bit because of injuries and a change of, not change of shape, but change of approach with Jack Stevens playing at left back. So Ryan, I assume, will come back into the team today because that helps with the balance and makes it more of a natural position for him. And it would also be interesting to see if Redmond comes back in as well. Djenepo, played very, very well. But I think he potentially started that game because Jack Stevens played at left back and you knew Jack wouldn't be overlapping. So if Ryan's pushing on and Djenepo's pushing on, that's very attacking. And that's where Wolves have got their strength in wide positions and can be very, very dangerous. So the manager's got really, really good options. The team's playing very well at the moment. I can't see there being many changes, but I could see Ryan Bertrand coming back into the team and maybe Nathan Redmond as well.
Yeah, Adam, do you think Ralph's going to throw up any surprises at all tonight?
I wouldn't think there'll be many surprises. I agree with Dean. I think we regularly say on this show, don't change the winning team, keep the momentum. But obviously, when you had to play somebody out of position, like Jack played at left back, as good a job as he did. When you've got your first choice left back, you bring them back in anyway. So I feel like that one's a given. Obviously, I think we're all relieved to see Prowse be reported as fit enough after missing out with England. So that's good news. And in the front positions, I think that's a little dilemma for Ralph. Does he go, well, I won't change the winning team other than the one position where somebody was obviously having to play in a different position than they normally would? Or does he tinker a little bit more? And as Dean said, Redmond would be the obvious choice to bring in there. I would suspect the only change will be Bertrand because Ralph has kind of shown he wants to leave it as unchanged as he can most of the time. But Dean's right. It wouldn't be a huge surprise if Redmond was in for Djenepo.
Dean, we saw the Adams-Walcott partnership against Newcastle. How do you think that differs from the Adams and Ings partnership, and how do you see that working tonight?
I'm not sure if the partnership differs because the manager will want them to play in a similar way. I think Theo and Danny are similar in some respects, but very, very different as well. I mean, Danny is a natural goal scorer. Theo plays potentially more of instinct. But him and Shay last game were exceptional. They formed a really, really good partnership, a really good understanding. They were combining well together, as you saw for Shay's opening goal. And it's just, they can form a really good partnership. It will be slightly different, but Theo's quick, so is Danny Ings. They're both like to run in behind. They both can come in the hole in kind of a number 10 position. Shay's position won't change. He will hold the ball up. He'll try and bring other people into the game. He'll make good runs and intelligent runs into the box. So I like their partnership. I like what they did last week, and hopefully they can keep growing that. They can develop that and build that relationship. So I don't think it's too different because of the shape that Southampton play, and the manager will want them to play very, very similar. But Theo and Shay do have a little bit of a difference than what it would be with Shay and Danny. So, but both still exciting partnerships.
How does the Walcott and Adams partnership work for you, Adam? And how does Shay's role changed up top now that he's not alongside Ings?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because I think it does change for Shay, and I think it changes as much as anything. It changes his mindset, I think, because he has a lot more responsibility on him. Obviously, Walcott, we know, is a top player, vastly experienced, club and country. So it's not as if he's coming in and he's some sort of lightweight in the position. He clearly isn't. But that said, it isn't probably his most natural position. And that means that the responsibility is on Shay, really, to lead the line. Also, with Shay being the bigger, more physical presence as well, and Walcott being able to play off of him. Again, it's more responsibility. I think when Danny's there, though Danny's not physical in the same way that Shay is, I think that just because Danny's such a talisman for the team, maybe Shay realises that he's playing more the supporting role than the lead role. Whereas I think when he's with Walcott, despite Walcott's experience, that Shay has to play the lead man, if you like, and lead the line. I think that's different for him mentally. It's more pressure on him for sure. But I think we've seen really through his performances and through his growth during his time at Saints so far, that it's something that he's capable of doing, and it's a burden that he can carry. And I like the partnership. Agree with everything Dean said about it, and I think it's a really exciting one for Saints, and really just so heartening that they can survive without Danny. They don't want to survive without Danny forever, but for a little while there's something else there for Ralph. It's not a complete disaster, and that's really positive, and it's also a big credit particularly to Shay.
Yeah, it's been really pleasing to see Shay performing so well. And it's also been pleasing for Saints fans to see Oriol Romeu put pen to paper and commit his future to the club until 2023. Let's hear what Ralph had to say on the contract extension of Oriol Romeu.
We need players, they have this professionalism, because he's definitely a role model for working hard for a club and for a team. And this is the reason why I think there's no player more deserving in the country than him, and that's the reason why we tried now to extend the contract with him, and he was immediately keen to do it. And this is also a good message, I think, for the other lads. They want to extend the contract, so we want to extend with them, because I think he feels that there's something growing here in this club, and who wants to be part of should know it, or should show us as quick as possible that he wants to be, because I think the train is leaving now, and it's definitely something that we want to know who wants to follow with us.
That was Ralph there. Now, Dean, we've spoke before about how impressed we've been with Oriol in recent weeks. How good is it seeing him commit his long-term future to the club?
Brilliant. It really is, because he's been exceptional this season. He's the type of player that you want at football clubs. He looks like he's a dedicated professional. He looks like he loves playing for the club. He's enjoying having a starting role, a regular place in the first team. And he does a really, really effective job. He's so important to the team now. One thing you obviously have to worry about is he going to pick up a suspension during the season because of the amount of tackles and yellow cards he gets? But that is part of his game. So for him to commit to the club and show the trust in the club, and for the club and the managers to show the trust in him, is brilliant. And I can imagine the younger players will learn off him in training. They will learn off him when he plays the games and how he conducts himself around the training ground. So these are the type of players that you really need at your football club. He does the basics so well. He goes unnoticed in games, even though his performances, we're noticing them. He doesn't do the most exciting things. But I can only relate him and probably compare him to what I could imagine Jose Fonte was when I was there. You know, very, very dedicated, very, very hungry to be the best he possibly can every week in training, in games. And that's brilliant, because that really reflects and rubs off on the younger players coming through at the club. So a brilliant signing and a brilliant bit of business to tie him up and keep him at the club.
And he's only 29 as well, so plenty more to come from him, I'm sure. Adam, just how good a servant has Oriol been for the club?
It's been absolutely fantastic. I mean, £5 million is an absolute bargain. I mean, 160 odd appearances, I think, and incredibly consistent performer. I mean, I've really rated him since day one. I'm really pleased for him. As Dean said, he is one of those honest, hard-working guys. He's a nice man as well. He's down to earth. He's friendly and personable. And he's just one of those blokes you like to see him succeed because he works hard. He makes the most of what he's got. I mean, Dean was similar as a player in the same position. You know, nice guy, works really hard and always gives it everything they've got every time they step on the pitch. And that's what you want from your players. And if you're playing alongside these guys, that's what you really want from a teammate as well. And I think what's interesting about Oriel's career at Saints is it hasn't been smooth sailing. It has had ups and downs, and that's not always been his fault. But really, I think he really came into his own in what was a difficult season under Claude Puel. He was superb that year. He got Player of the Season that year as well. He was absolutely outstanding and really, you know, a top player, which is what made it all the more baffling, really, that he kind of sort of fell out of favour again for a while. And there really was a thing that him and Højbjerg, for whatever reason, it just didn't work. The two of them playing together, never from day one, you thought those two would be a great foil for each other. It never worked very well. It was never great. Oriel, for me, was less talented than Pierre, but he was more consistent and he was better for Saints. And so I think it's the right decision that Højbjerg's moved on and Romeu stayed. But again, that's a huge credit to Romeu as well, that he's been retained. And he is the one who's playing every week. I think he's been a great servant, and I think he's got plenty more good years left in him yet.
Yeah, I think we agree. Now, Ryan Bertrand's expected to come back into the team today, Dean. Do you expect the fullbacks to play more cautiously against Wolves, or are you going to see Saints play to their strengths and without overlapping attacks?
It's a really interesting question because Wolves play a certain structure, play entertaining football, but their movement's very, very good and their wide players are attacking. And they're kind of play two number 10s that can drift wide. So if Ryan leaves space there, they will find that space. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I can't imagine Southampton will change too much in how they play. They still want to attack. They'll still want to create chances. And Ryan does that naturally, but he's an experienced player as well. So he'll pick and choose the opportunities, when to go, when not to go, when he needs to stay within the shape. A little bit like Chelsea potentially first half, where he didn't attack too much. But I always think Southampton are at the best when they go for it. They attack teams, they make teams worry about them. And I think that is probably the best policy that, you know, that's why Southampton have been so successful this season. But Ryan's an experienced player. He'll pick and choose and he'll know, you know, how to play this game tonight. So, it'd be one of the big battles of the night, I think.
Well, we will dissect tonight's opponents in more detail a little bit later on in the show, but we are very nearly going to be bringing you the team news for this evening. Before we do, though, let's hear what you guys are saying at home. Lots of you very excited for the kickoff this evening. Danny Turner has left us a comment. He says, "Come on, you Saints, let's get third place." Daniel Coleman, hello to you. He says, hoping for a 2-0 victory tonight. James Ward-Prowse and Shay to score from the Red and White Army in Canada. Football 2020 on YouTube has said Walcott to score first in a 3-1 win. Thanks for your comment. Stephen's also got in touch. Good evening. He says Saints to win and go third. Sounds crazy, but come on, you Reds. So lots of people hoping the Saints will move into third position in the table. Ashley's got in touch as well. They've said smash and grab raid tonight, 2-0 to the Saints. Gary, hello to you. He says 3 points this evening. Let's move up to third. And Fern's left us a comment as well. Going to be a tough one, but I have faith, as do we, Fern. Thanks for getting in touch. And another one here for now from Bob. He says Shay for the first goal. Bob watching from Gran Canaria. Thank you very much to all of you for sending us in your comments. A few people sending us in their thoughts on team news as well, and we can actually bring you that team news now. There is just one change from the team that faced Newcastle last week. There it is, it's on your screen. Ryan Bertrand comes into the side to replace Jack Stephens. So let's take a look at that Saints team in full then. In goal, we have Alex McCarthy. At the back, Carl Walker-Peters, Jan Bednarek, Yannick Vestergaard and Ryan Bertrand. In the middle, Stuart Armstrong, whose goal last time out helped send Saints to the summit of the top flight, of course. Also in midfield is Oriol Romeo, our captain James Ward-Prowse and Moussa Djenepo, and the attacking duo of Shay Adams, who got the first goal of the game against Newcastle, and alongside him is Theo Walcott. The Saints substitutes are as follows: Fraser Forster, Jack Stevens, Ibrahima Diallo, Nathan Teller, Shane Long, Michael Obafemi and Dan Nlundulu. So let's come back to you, Dean and Adam. Dean, we'll come to you first. That's kind of what we were expecting, really. No surprises from that lineup tonight.
Yeah, and like Adam said, really, that's the philosophy of the manager. I think if you prove yourself in the team, if you're winning, the manager doesn't really want to change it. Ryan's come back in because he is the first choice left back, and Jack is not a natural left back, even though Jack put in a very, very solid performance. But no, I think it's a sensible decision. It's the right decision. It's probably the best team that the manager could go with tonight. I like the fact that he's gone with Djenepo. I didn't think he would, like I said before, but he has, and he's shown his trust in him. And he does have that magic. He does have that wow factor that he can just bring things to life, and that may be needed tonight in a tight game. So yeah, strong team, probably the best team that the manager can put out. And I'm sure he has every confidence in the players, and the players have every confidence in his decision. So, an exciting team that look like they're going to be on the front foot and try and attack Wolves.
It is an exciting team, and it is a strong team, Adam. Do you think they can do the business against Wolves this evening?
Yeah, I think they probably can. I think it's going to be a different challenge again. Wolves are a very different team. I mean, when you look at the two teams up against each other, I mean, you look at the table and I think there's 7 maybe places between them, but there's actually only 3 points. So it goes to show really that the Wolves have had a decent start to the season. We think Saints have had an exceptional start, so Wolves have had a decent start. They don't score that many goals really, but they don't give much away either. I mean, I think they've kept 4 clean sheets, so we know that they're going to be organised. They're an intricate team. They're very well set up. They know what they're doing. They're very well drilled. So it's going to be a tough game for Saints tonight, I think, this one. But it's a good team. Like Dean, I'm happy to see Djenepo given another chance. I think we need to see a lot more of him, and he needs to play a lot more regularly. And I've said that previously before we can really assess him, and before I think we'll see the best of him. So I'm glad to see him get another opportunity. And I think in a game like this, it could be quite tight. That's the kind of game where you want him to take a few risks as well. You want him to try and produce that bit of magic that's going to get you a goal if the game's tight.
Yeah, Adam, I'm going to stick with you here because I know you love a good stat, and I've got an interesting one. So Wolves have had 92 shots this season and scored just the 8 goals, while Southampton have had 91 shots and scored 16, so twice as many goals from roughly the same amount of shots. Do you expect the team tonight to continue that and actually be able to shut Wolves out?
Well, I mean, I hope so, for sure. I think Wolves, it's interesting because Wolves are obviously very reliant on Jimenez up front. He's a big player for them. But then Danny Ings is a big player for Saints, and Saints have obviously been able to cope and are doing admirably without Danny. But the difference has been that Saints have had goals from elsewhere in their team, and Wolves have struggled, obviously, as the stats show, to have goals from elsewhere, with Jimenez, I think, having scored 4 of those 8 himself. So that's Wolves' issue, is that they've got some very good players, but they just have struggled to find anybody who can put the ball in the net other than one guy, really. Whereas Saints, we've seen contributions throughout the team. Obviously, the strikers have carried the burden, but other players from front to back have contributed. And that's really been the beauty of Saints this season. It gives them, Wolves, a lot of things to think about. When you haven't just got a striker or two that's scoring goals, you've got Prowse's set piece threat. You've got the big lads up from the back for again, Prowse's excellent delivery. You've got midfielders who can contribute goals. You've got attacking fullbacks. There's a lot of ways that Saints have got that they can hurt teams. And I think that's kind of been crucial to their success, because it makes them much harder to shut down as well. And again, we've talked about it before, but when you look at the fluidity at the front and the front three, front four, that is really troublesome. No matter how good you are as a defence, that movement and the intelligence that the players have in making those moves, drifting inside, drifting out, and covering each other, that makes it really hard to defend. And I think Wolves will definitely pose plenty of challenges tonight.
Well, Paul sent us in a comment on Facebook and he seems to agree with you, Adam, on that one. It is going to be a tough test, he says, against Wolves, but he just wants to see a good performance from the boys. He says, good luck, lads, just do us proud. Another comment then here from Joy. Hi from Jerusalem. Hello from Southampton. Looking forward to going third. Fingers crossed, Joy. Matt Hill on Facebook has said, come on, Saints, watching and enjoying from Plymouth. Adam Hurd has left us a comment on YouTube. They're going for a 1-0 Saints win tonight, and Shay Adams to get the only goal of the game. And another comment here from Mark Littlewood. Thanks for getting in touch. Toughest game of the season so far. Stay patient and Saints can win this. Soak up pressure and counter at speed. So although it is going to be a tough one against Wolves this evening, the fans are still backing the Saints for a win, Steve.
Yeah, indeed. Now, it is 1 year to the day since Saints drew 2-2 at Arsenal. And it was very much a game that will be remembered for the turning point in Southampton's fortunes.
Yeah, absolutely. Saints had picked up just 1 point from their previous 7 matches, but this game certainly turned the tide for them in their season because they went on to win 7 of their next 10 matches. It was certainly a dramatic day at the Emirates, so let's remind ourselves of the highlights.
Saints immediately start with a throw on this near side, midway inside the Arsenal half. Chipped across the half by Redmond. He rather got that wrong, and then it's given away by Tierney. Armstrong will have a dart early and he hits it wide, and that is a positive start from Southampton. Short pass to Redmond. Redmond trapped by Chambers. Chambers knocks him over off the ball. Easy free kick as the former Saint fouls him, and they take it quickly. And they've got him behind. Ings in the box. Ings hits the post and it goes in. And Southampton have the lead at the Emirates. Danny Ings yet again in the 8th minute. Ozil looking for the support. It comes down the left from Tierney. Cross into the box. It's got to be Aubameyang shot blocked by Bertrand. Second chance, 1-1. Lacazette on the turn, right-footed. And Arsenal can break. This is dangerous. It's 3-on-4, maybe 3-on-3. Ball through to Pepe. They've ripped Saints apart. That pass from Lacazette. Pepe has to score. They want a handball. What part of Bednarek did it come off? Big,
good defending. I mean, really, they're through.
Yeah. Should have scored. Now, long distance shot. Leno tips it over from Nathan Redmond. Gives it back to Socrates, whose first touch is heavy, and Cedric's on the ball. Cedric's going off him. He squares it. Oh no! How have they not scored? Cedric's crossed it too heavily. Obafemi was standing 6 yards out just to tap it in. And suddenly Obafemi has it on the left. Bertrand stayed up with him. He scored here before, remember. Bertrand goes on the outside and the ball played in, and Saints want a penalty. And Stuart Atwell has given a penalty. Leno bounces on his line. Ward-Prowse save, gets the rebound and scores the rebound. James Ward-Prowse slams it in left-footed.
More like the Southampton we know.
Oh, great touch from Genepo from a good ball from Højbjerg at the back heel. Set Redmond in to win the game. Redmond tees it up. Can't get the shot in, and Genepo's shot is cleared off the line.
I don't know how they haven't scored that.
Saints running the ball down the left wing. 2-1 they lead here. Lovely mazy dribble by Buffal to the byline. Can they finish it off this time? No! Oh, it's another chance. They should be 4-1 up. Aubameyang, it's gone out on the left wing to the byline. Pulled across. They're going to be an equaliser. Poked into the roof of the net. Arsenal do equalise with 2 minutes of stoppage time to go. They've conceded to Alexander Lacazette.
Heartache at the end there. Very much felt like 2 points dropped. But Adam, on reflection now, is that when things started to click for Ralph?
Well, I think it did. I mean, it brings back some emotional memories for me because that was my last day, my last game after 18 years covering Saints for the Echo. That was it that day. So yeah, it was definitely. I know you haven't asked this. I'm making it all about me now, but it was definitely an emotional day, and that's actually mainly what I remember about that game was kind of the emotional goodbyes and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was a great performance, and it absolutely they should have won that game, and they should have won it at a canter, really. And yeah, it was a big turning point. I think Kenzie gave out the stats, and I think in that previous 10 games, the only win they'd actually managed was against Portsmouth in the cup, and obviously Portsmouth are. It's probably worth pointing out, a couple of divisions lower than Saints, so it was a good win, but expected probably. So it was a big turning point. I mean, the confidence wasn't high, and I don't think there was a lot of optimism really when we got to the ground that Saints were going to get anything. But it was just one of those days where it clicked. Arsenal were. We know what they were like in that part of the season last year. They were stuttering a bit. They weren't great. They had a few injuries as well, which hampered them to a couple of their better players. They just weren't really at it. And Saints took advantage. And it's on these little moments that things turn around. And that's what's great about football and a football season where you have so many games. It's amazing how often one game can just turn things in either direction. Surprisingly so sometimes, and really, to be honest, I haven't looked back since. When you look at where they are now, they've kind of continued that progression. So it's been heartening to see, and that was a great performance. And it seems weird watching the VT as well with all the fans in the ground. It seems like it was so long ago, but it really was only a year ago. But yeah, a good day for Saints for sure.
Yeah, and a good day for you as well, Adam. Great to hear of your memories of that day. Now, Dean, coming to you, let's talk about the first goal. Ryan Bertrand and Danny Ings linking up for that one. How clever was that goal?
Yeah, very clever by two very experienced players. And first of all, a little bit naive by Arsenal. A quick free kick, and Ryan slipped Danny Ings in. Kind of the Arsenal players turned their back and didn't look at the ball. And were blaming each other and moaning at each other, but very, very quick play. And I think that's what the manager gives the players. He gives them that freedom. He gives them that chance to be creative. It's not always set it up and let's put it in the box. It's if we can play short, if we can get the tempo going, if we can put a player forward pass quickly, let's do it. So very, very clever, very, very alert and aware. Slid Danny in, Danny in one-on-one with a goalkeeper. You'd back him every time. So a really, really good finish. But that's what we like about the Southampton team. They're very creative, forward-thinking, want to create opportunities and play football, not stop and start. It's very intense, it flows, so very clever. And it's going to need maybe something like that tonight as well. A little bit of quick play, getting the ball in the box, a 1-2, a combination. And they're the things that Southampton have been brilliant at this season. Great move last season against Arsenal.
But there were so many other chances, weren't there? I mean, even before and after James Ward-Prowse scored the rebound from the spot, Adam, it really could have been an emphatic win that night.
Yeah, it could and really should, to be honest. I mean, of all the chances, the one that still gets me, it's still, oh my goodness me, the one where Cedric, he's just got I don't know what he's doing. He literally just needs to a pass, like a 10-metre pass, and Obafemi's got an empty net to roll the ball into, and he just absolutely hammers it at him, and it just flies past poor Obafemi, just like watching as it steams past him. And that was the one that really, oh my goodness me. But anyway, that convinced Arsenal to buy Cedric for some reason. So there you go. But yeah, it should have been a win, and that was, funnily enough, coming away from that game, I think that was the only slight doubt, was we'd seen the performances turn because that performance was so good, but the fact they hadn't won, there was still that little bit of, God, is it going to be a bit of a kick in the guts for them that they kind of played that well at a big club on their ground and they didn't get the 3 points? It's kind of just typical, but it really was the catalyst for them. So it all worked out fine, even if they didn't get the 3 points that they actually should have done.
Dean, we saw a clever flick from Moussa Djenepo in that game to unlock Arsenal's defence, and we actually saw something similar, didn't we, against Newcastle. We know he's a creative player, but just how good is his awareness and how much does he need a good run in this side?
Well, his awareness is great. He obviously sees things that are there. He sees it before it happens. He knows, he's very aware that when the ball's coming, he knows his pass before he's going to play it, and that's what the best players do. That's the difference between the best players. They kind of almost slow the game down. It's a bit like Matrix. They say they see things in slow motion. Everything around them is moving quickly, but they can kind of slow it down in their minds and pick a pass. They can create things and visualize things before they happen. No, it's a brilliant flick. You know, to put the player through the outside of his foot, kind of on the angle, a little bit like Newcastle. He played it behind him and put Theo through. So he's definitely got that in the locker, and we want to see more of that. And I think the more he plays, the more confident he gets, the more comfortable he gets. It will keep coming out. It will keep. It will develop, and we'll see more and more of them tricks. And then hopefully we'll get the end product like we did the goal we scored against Tottenham, where he had a great turn and a really good finish. So he's a brilliant player, and I think the manager sees that. He must see them tricks all the time in training. You know, when players are free, they feel comfortable, there's nothing on it. He must see that all the time, and it must be a pleasure to watch. And the one thing he has added to his game, he works very, very hard. His defensive side now is much, much better. He's actually quite aggressive in his tackles. He's turned into a team player. So he may have been concentrating on that a little bit too much because the manager has spoke to him about that. Now, if he can find the balance between doing that job and bringing out the flair and the creative side of him, I think the club are going to have a really, really good player. And that will happen the more games he plays. But yeah, we want to see more of them flicks because they're fantastic.
Now, Dean, I want to tap into a player's mentality here. It's strange to think now, but Shay Adams was actually left out of that squad entirely for that game. And a year on, he's now leading the Southampton attack. As someone who knows him a bit, how much character does that show to go from being left out to where he is today?
Yeah, a lot of character, especially for a young player that's, you know, was new at a club last season and had a bit of a price tag on him. You know, the club had put a lot of investment in him. He didn't, you know, we spoke about it before. I think he was putting the performances, but couldn't quite get the goals. It couldn't quite click for him. And he would have been judging himself. And if he's honest, and every player do, you sometimes do question yourself. Am I good enough for this level? Can I score the goals? Can I be the player that people want me to be, that the club invested the money at? So for him to then switch it all round, turn it around, have the end of the season he did last year, to having the season he is now is fantastic for him. And I'll repeat what I said, especially at such a young age. And he's really developing now. You can see the confidence in him. He's got that a bit of swagger about him now, that little bit of arrogance, but still with working hard and still being a team player. And I like to see that. You know, a striker needs that arrogance, and that's when they really start to score goals. So no, brilliant for Shay, and I'm sure the squad helped him. I'm sure he had good players around him that would have been speaking to him. I think he's mentioned it before in interviews that Danny Ings has been brilliant for him. So he would have been there at the training ground when he's not played to help him and advise him through. So, but he would have had to have done a lot of soul searching and a lot of thinking about his game when he's come through that. So all credit to Shay, and long may it continue because he's doing exceptionally well.
Yeah, he certainly is, and it's great to see. Adam, now another player we've spoken about previously on the show, Oriol Romeu, was dropped to the bench for that game. I mean, what a difference a year makes, not just for Southampton, but for Shay and Oriol in particular.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we spoke about Oriol earlier in the show, and I really sang his praises, and I think it's just another indication of not only what a good player he is, but what a strong character he is. He's suffered quite a few knocks at Saints in terms of being left out, and I think harshly, in my opinion, a lot of the time as well. I mean, I feel he's been hard done by sometimes at Saints, but he's kind of never really. The thing I admire about him is he's never really tried to go and do something, you know, drastically different. He's just tried to make himself better at what he does. He hasn't gone away and thought, oh my goodness, I need to try and become a player that I'm not. He's just thought, I'm just going to get better at doing my job. I really admire that about Oriol, and what a difference a year makes. And for Shay as well, I mean, I felt very sorry for Shay, really, because that first part of last season, maybe the first 10 games, he started. And I've got to say, I thought he was fantastic. I thought he played really well, but he just couldn't buy a goal. Like, nothing was going for him. He was so unfortunate. A few bad misses and some terrible luck as well. And then I think Ralph decided he got to take him out just to protect him, really, protect his confidence. And so it's taken a while for him to come back as well. But again, we say it regularly, but the strength of character, it feels like, and the unity that there is in this group is kind of what shines through in those difficult moments. And we've seen a lot of stories, a lot of kind of players go through a tough moment and then come out the other side and not just fall by the wayside under Ralph. And I think that's a sign of kind of the unity that Ralph is bringing to the group as a whole.
Yeah, it's so good to see, isn't it? Well, we are going to get right to previewing tonight's match in just a moment. But before we come to Dean and Adam on their thoughts on our clash against Wolves, let's hear what you guys at home have to say. Lots of comments coming in from all over the globe, which is always fantastic to see. Thank you so much for your support. Alan is going for a win tonight. He does say it's not an easy game, though. He'd take a point, but 3 would be fantastic. Paul Edwards on Facebook, thanks for your comment. He says, come on, Saints. Cheering you on from North Wales with my son Leo. Oh, lovely. And Nick says records are in favour of Wolves, but we are breaking records this season, so a Saints win for me. Love that positivity, Nick. Rob's got in touch. He says clean sheet, away win. What a confidence booster that would be. Come on, you Reds. And Rachel has said would love Theo to get his first goal. Wolves are always tough though, so we will have to be on top form. Come on, you Saints.
Yeah, so let's turn our attention to tonight's game. Wolves did lose last time out against Leicester, but prior to that picked up 10 points from a possible 12. Dean, what do Saints have to be aware of tonight?
Well, Wolves are a good team. I think Adam touched on it. They've got they're very well organised. They've got a good structure. They've got a way of playing. Jimenez, obviously up front, is a top quality striker. Scored some goals already this season and has had a good couple of seasons in the Premier League, so it's very, very dangerous. Neto is obviously a decent player that kind of plays in the number 10 and kind of wide number 10 and drifts around the pitch. And then you've got Semedo, who is the right full-back winger sort of attacking player, is very, very good. But I think they'll miss Connor Cody tonight. I don't think he's playing. And I think he starts everything off for Wolves. He's very comfortable in possession. He's their captain. He's their leader. So hopefully Southampton can take advantage of that. And they play free at the back, kind of 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1. So Southampton making runs in behind, in between them centre halves can cause Wolves some problems. So it'll be an interesting game. Wolves like possession of the ball. They'll be very, very fit as well, so they'll go for the 90 minutes. So I think this will be one of Southampton's biggest tests this season.
Yeah, Adam, as Dean said, Cody's out, which is certainly a positive for the Saints, as is Sace. However, Wolves have only conceded 2 goals in their last 5 games. So how tough an assignment is this going to be for Southampton this evening?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really challenging game, I think, for Saints. I think the way the Wolves sort of set up and play, I don't think it's really made for the way that Saints, like when they really dominate teams, for them to probably be able to do that. But I agree totally with Dean. Cody's a huge miss for them. He's a fantastic player for them, and the space that there could be in the wide areas is around the side of the centre halves is interesting for Saints as well. But Wolves have got a lot of quality. I mean, I enjoy watching Traore play, but they've also got Moutinho, I think is a great player. Neves. Yeah, we talked about Jimenez, and Dean listed a couple of other good players as well. They've got some real quality in that team. Real quality. I mean, you could argue when you look at them, occasionally they struggle. Maybe their strength in depth is a little bit questionable at times. But when you take that first 13, 14 they've got, they're really good, and they deservedly are kind of a upper middle table type of team, and then they play with a little bit of a swagger sometimes as well, which I kind of quite admire. I think it might be one of those games where we see plenty of entertaining football from both teams. It might be a little cagey, but I think there'll be some nice bright moments, and I think we'll see 2 teams who are fairly confident, 2 teams who both kind of know what they're going out to try and achieve, which I think is interesting as well, and 2 teams that I think will probably both fancy they've got a chance of winning this. So I think it's a difficult game for both sides tonight, actually, and it's going to be quite a hard one to call. But I hope Saints will be the team coming out on the right end of it.
Yeah, I think we can all remember that Saints were top of the league as well after that win against Newcastle. But we now sit in 5th. Now, Ralph actually said he was glad because being top of the table actually adds too much pressure to the squad. Dean, do you think it's better now to actually be flying under the radar a wee bit? I
think that's very clever by the manager by saying that, if I'm honest. I I think he would have loved being top of the league. So, yes, it does. Did it take pressure off Southampton? Are Southampton supposed to be top of the league? Obviously not. I think it's just a lovely feeling to be at the top end of the table. So the players will enjoy that. The manager will enjoy that. I think he's just trying to say that they want to just concentrate on their job. Maybe not think we're top of the league, we're top 6, we're top 4. Just to continue to play the way they do. Concentrate on themselves as players, as a team, and continue their progress. Because if the manager touches on it, he's all about making progress and improving each week, each season. And they're doing that now to improve the players as a team, individually. So they'll all enjoy what's happening at the club at the moment. And they're getting some fantastic results, especially in the manner they're playing. They're scoring some good goals. The team's flowing. The team and the players are smiling, which is great to see. But I'm sure the manager would take being top of the league every day of the week. So, bit of very intelligent by the manager by saying that, I think.
Yeah, he's smart as our Ralph. It was a great feeling to be at the summit of English football. Now, since football resumed back in June, this is a fantastic stat. Southampton have played 17 matches and accumulated 34 points in that time. That's an average of 2 points per game, which I think is fair to say is Champions League form, isn't it? It's absolutely amazing. Adam, I want to come to you on this one. Just how far do you think this team can go? Because that's not just flash in a pan form, that is consistent quality.
Yeah, it is. It is consistent quality. And what's interesting is when you look at not where all the wins have come, but where a lot of them have come. Obviously, we've seen a lot in this lockdown period, a lot of this good form. When you take the sort of back end of last season restart, and then you take this season. And that's quite interesting because a lot of things, I'm not saying it's because of that, but a lot of things have sort of turned on their head a little bit in that period. When you look at some of the teams, if you look at the table, some of the teams that you would consider would be doing better or worse than they are. It's been interesting, but there are teams, and Saints are one, that have really taken advantage of that situation, and they've used it to kind of their best that they can, really. And I agree. I don't think this is a flash in the pan. I think it's too far gone. There's too many games. There's too many wins under the belt to consider this just sort of a fleeting moment. But it is still a very long season, and we haven't had that many games this season, so we do still need to be a little bit cautious. It's a long way to go. We still, obviously, there's been a couple of new signings brought in that we haven't seen play particularly yet, so we still don't 100% know about the depth of the squad, and we are going to, all these international breaks are coming to an end now. We are going to get into a period where they're playing a lot more. They're going to get injuries. They're going to get suspensions. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. So the squad is going to be tested. And I think if they come through this next, let's say, 6-week period, and they're still doing either that kind of average 2 points a game, or they're not far off, they just drop below but not too far off, then I think it's time to get really excited, because at that point I think they would have had to have proven their strength in depth throughout the team, throughout the positions. And if they can manage to do that, then I wouldn't even really want to put a limit on what they could do this season, because they're up there, they're deservedly up there. And if they can stay up there through from some demanding times, demanding fixtures, grueling schedules, then they are going to be right in there at the end as well.
That'd be amazing. Can you imagine?
Oh, try not to get ahead of myself.
Yeah. Right, kickoff is around about half an hour away. So before we depart, gentlemen, let's get some score predictions. Dean, how do you think the game's going to go today, and what do you think the score's going to be?
Well, I think it'll be a tight game. I think Adam touched on it. There'll be some entertaining football, some moments, but two very, very good teams that will both think they can win the game. But I still fancy Southampton, especially with the away form. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Southampton win.
All right. And Adam, are you going to get carried away, or are you going to stay conservative?
Well, what I always do is, if you ask Dean first, I always then say, oh, that's what I was going to go for. Because then it's kind of like I get two guesses, really. Because so I think I will go a little bit more conservative. I agree with everything Dean said about what the game's probably going to be like. But these are two really good teams who I think are going to be in the shake-up in that sort of just outside the top 4 positions at the end of the season. So I think probably both would possibly take a draw in this game. So I'm going to say 1-1.
Certainly is going to be a tough fixture. Well, Dean, Adam, thank you so much for your company as always, and thank you to you for watching along at home. The Can Saints extend their unbeaten run to 7 as they face Wolves at Molineux tonight. Well, we'll find out very, very shortly, but it is goodbye from us for now. But make sure you join us after the game for the final whistle. See you then.